Where is this dislike, discrediting, hatred, or whatever it might be with Russell Wilson coming from that now it's a topic? Is he playing his way out of the Hall of Fame?
Well, yeah. I mean, first off, I don't think I had him in the Hall of Fame anyways. So I think that's still a debatable topic
Okay.
there a little bit. All
Okay.
right. NFL legend, right? One of the better quarterbacks of our era for sure. But Hall of Fame, I'm not really ready to say that about Russell Wilson. Um, Now, the criticism, again, I think a lot of it has to do with his play, and I think a little bit has to do with his personality and how he's viewed, not only by the public, but how people view him. I think in the football world, in locker rooms, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Right? We've seen a number of locker rooms that, yeah, Russell Wilson's a nice guy, but is he a leader? Is he one of the guys? Right? Is he respected like one of the guys? I think that's been debatable at certain places. There was a lot of talk of that last year in Pittsburgh. Denver, you didn't hear anybody there sticking up going, man, he really got a raw deal there, right? You didn't really hear about it in Seattle either, and he kind of forced his way out of that situation. So I think between that, acting maybe like he's a Hall of Famer, and then playing like he's barely a starter in the NFL, that's probably where we are right now as far as the criticism around Russell Wilson.
It feels like Matthew Stafford is a bro, and he's never been a Pro Bowl quarterback, or one time never been an MVP,
Right.
but he won a Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and that feels like that alone is going to get him into the Hall of Fame.
Well, I think there's some different circumstances there where I'd go, Matthew Stafford for me for a while was the only reason Detroit was ever in any conversations about being in the playoffs at all, right? He was almost his own worst enemy in the fact that he was so good. He made them 8-8 and they might have gotten the playoffs or didn't, but lost in the first round or whatever. And people go, oh, look, he couldn't get in the playoffs or he choked in the playoffs. When it was like, no, they weren't really a playoff team. They got there because he's so amazing. So that's where I would stick up for him. He was the football team there. And then you saw as soon as he got with a team that could support him at all, it was like, boom, I'm going to win the Super Bowl. And Russell Wilson's, I think, is a little different than that, where, hey, some good years, certainly, but we know the Legion of Boom and that defense and run game were the most important parts of that football team early on in his career.
Yeah, but I can look at this and say that Russ got with a team that was really good, and he won. He went to 2 Super Bowls. Whereas when he's not with a good team, he still took Pittsburgh to the playoffs.
Yeah, he still took Pittsburgh to the playoffs, but the passing offense and everything around him has been the question, right? And I don't think that's been the question around Matthew Stafford. We were never like, I don't know if the passing offense is going to work with Matthew Stafford. We've gotten to a point here where you've seen one of the greatest offensive minds in the history of football and Sean Payton go through a half a year and go, it ain't going to work. It's not going to work. I'm going to ask him to take off the guarantees of his contract next year. That's how much it's not going to work. I'm going to bench him for Jared Stidham. So I think with all of that, and then, yeah, last year there was some moments, but again, he's limited in what he can do, Dan, right? Because he can't run and scramble anymore. He's not very good playing within the pocket, and he doesn't really work at whole offense. He's never surgical, as I would say.
But he
It's is
built
it
up a resume, Chris.
Yes.
He built up a 10-year career, and whether you value Pro Bowls or not,
No, yeah, yeah. I
he
I hear you. I respect all of that. I do. He had a lot of awesome years. There's no doubt about that. And I'm not saying I'm right about the Hall of Fame thing. That's just my opinion. I'm sure there's other people that are smart in football that maybe differ in that. So I understand the resume and all that, but I also think within the resume, the team he had and all that, it was set up so perfectly for him to look awesome, right? And he obviously didn't like it there. He wanted to be more of a guy like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, where everything was around him. And we're seeing that the physical talents are not there of that, like those guys right there, and he can't do it.